Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thunderstruck, our look back at the greatest matches in the career of one Jushin Thunder Liger, as picked by each unique and standalone guest of this podcast. My name is W.H. Park. Of course, I am the host of the Post-Perez show, along with John Pollock. Today, we're going to look at the 90s, and joining me today is a guest I had over at Cruel Summer, my look at the G1 Climax Finals from I can't remember now. Was it 1991 to 2018?
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, and you can hear his voice. So my guest today is my good friend, the turncoat, Joey Bay.
It's good to be on. I'm glad you haven't technically forgiven me for betraying your opinion on Big Japan Pro Wrestling, but you've allowed me back on your podcasting shows. So I'm excited to be back on, and it's a pleasure. Yeah.
So we don't really have to go deep into your history as a wrestling fan, because I do think like a lot of the people who listen to Cruel Summer, and you did 2 episodes with me, so like people probably are familiar with who Joey is. But
they're probably scratching their heads wondering why you let me back on.
Like a lot of feedback I got was like a lot of people liked your episode. Yeah, your episodes with me.
Oh.
So like, I don't be self-conscious about it. What people think about you, Joey. I think you have a very deep knowledge about professional wrestling, about Japanese professional wrestling, and hopefully about Jushin Thunder Liger.
Hopefully,
let's talk about Jushin Thunder Liger and what he means to you. Like, why do you love Jushin Thunder Liger? And do you love him?
Oh yeah, I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the match we're reviewing today was probably my first memory of actually watching a match of Jushin Thunder Liger. What's there not to love? Like, strip away all of his, like the outfit and the mask and the hair, fake or not. Keiichi Yamada is a great wrestler, but at the root of everything, he's incredible. But with all the pomp and circumstance, the outfit and everything, he's a legend. What else is needed to be said about him?
Well, what caught your eye about him the first time you saw him wrestle?
His mask. I mean, come on. It's got like several horns sticking out of it. He's got like long flowing black hair. He hit hard. I mean, his whole outfit is just bright red. I mean, he just like pops out from the screen, and followed by that, he's an incredible wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo the sentiment. The first time I saw him was in WCW against Brian Pillman when they were doing the whole tournament for the WCW light heavyweight title. And I remember seeing him for the first time, and I'm just like, wow, he's wearing a full bodysuit. Like, not that I've never seen a full bodysuit. I remember, I don't know if you remember Lasertron in Jim Cocker Promotions in the 80s, which I think was played by, it was one of the Guerrero brothers, maybe Hector or Chavo Sr. I can't remember if that's the case, but he had like a full bodysuit, except like he had bare sleeves. But Jushin Thunder Liger basically is covered head to toe in his costume, except for his hands. And I was just like, I've never seen that. Like, how do you wrestle that way? Because it's hot. Wrestling makes you sweaty and shit.
Yeah.
And he's got the horns, and I'm like, whoa. And like, really, I mean, the comparison is with Tiger Mask, the first one, Satoru Sayama, whereas he was a revolutionary masked junior heavyweight wrestler in the 80s. Him and Dynamite Kid revolutionized the sport of wrestling, really. And then you have Liger, and I don't think it's unheard of to say that, Liger changed the face of professional wrestling, not only in Japan, but in America and Europe as well.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he have excursions to both Canada and Europe when he was a young boy as Keiichi Yamada?
Yeah, so he went to, I think, All-Star Wrestling in the UK it was for Brian Dixon. He worked a lot there. I think he did some World of Sport as well, maybe, in the tail end of World of Sport. I could be wrong about that. But he also, came to Canada. He worked at the Stampede promotion. And, like, in his biography on Wikipedia, like, they do mention that he worked a lot with Stu Hart in the dungeon. He did some training there. So, that that can't help make you better. Like, I don't know any wrestler that's bad that came out of the dungeon, like the legit dungeon, like where Stu Hart is still stretching people, right? Like, I don't know about this new dungeon where it's just like like Keith Hart and Bruce Hart maybe training people or not training people, as I recall from Chris Jericho's book. Like Chris Jericho and Glenn Stern, like, quote unquote, come out of the dungeon, but they weren't actually trained by Stu. So, and like Harry Smith and Tyson Kidd aren't really, true dungeon graduates in the sense of they were, they were stretched by Stu. Maybe Harry was when he was a kid because, Stu Hart's his grandfather. But, but like for me, the like kind of the class ends with Owen, really, and Benoit and Pillman and people like that is like the last true class of the dungeon coming out of Calgary. And Liger is part of that. Like, he got some training, and like,
that's synced up right with the beginning of those guys' careers.
And also with, if you think about it, like people like Hashimoto and Hase went to Calgary. They worked their weird Asian stereotype gimmicks there, working for the Hart family. And I would imagine that they did some training with Stu Hart. Like, if I'm New Japan and I'm sending you guys to excursion in Calgary to work for Stampede, I'm going to be like telling Stu Hart, like, if you could train these guys too, because you're a legend, and and you produce so many amazing wrestlers through, like Brett, Owen, right? We can just go through the list, and I think Bad News Allen is also in that conversation as well, because he spent so much time. The Dynamite Kid and Dave Boy Smith, the senior, were all part of that kind of dungeon class. So. It's amazing to think that that Liger is part of that. He's part of the dungeon legacy in the history of professional wrestling. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, but today we're going to look at a match that you said is near dear to your heart, obviously, because you picked it. It's, tell us about this match.
Okay. So today's match is, Jushin Thunder Liger versus Rey Mysterio Jr. from Starrcade 1996. Starrcade 1996 is probably one of my top 10 favorite pay-per-views in general of all time. It's such a fun show. Not to go too deep into the card, but you have the Dean Malenko versus Ultimate Dragon in the opening match for the J Crown title. You also have Chris Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett in an awesome match. You have this match. You have Hogan versus Piper in surprisingly a great main event for those two to have in 1996. It's in front of a hot Nashville crowd, right at probably right before the peak of the NWO stuff. So the crowds were just rabid. But this specific match is very unique because, as far as my research, as far as I could find on the internet, Cage Match, everywhere else, these guys have only stepped in the ring on shows together. They shared a ring 3 times, which includes this match. The other match prior to this would have been a war match. I think it was an 8-man tag, and Mike Tenay actually brings up in the match that we're reviewing that these guys had a 30-second interaction in that one, and then fast forward 1996 to 2018, 18 years, they tagged together at Dominion last year, but besides that, these guys have never wrestled another singles match, tag match, or anything, which is very surprising to me.
So this is their only singles match in recorded history.
Correct. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
I don't think you're wrong. I think even Rey Mysterio has referenced when he was doing the short stint he did in New Japan before he re-signed with the WWE that I want to face Jushin Thunder Liger. I think he referenced that I've only fought him once in a singles match. I'd like to have another one. Obviously that never happened. Vince dangled the money bags in front of him. He parked up the truck to Rey Mysterio's house, and he said, "We'll take on Walter Jr. or Dominic as well. We'll take him into the company as well." So maybe that was too tempting for Rey, and he tried to get Dominic into the New Japan dojo, but they were saying, He looks too much like Walter. We can't use him. So.
He looks the size of Walter when he's standing next to his dad too.
Definitely.
Yeah, actually, they were supposed to have a match last year, a singles match at one of the Long Beach shows before Rey went back to the WWE, but it got canceled because Rey got hurt, and they reworked the card around, and Liger ended up wrestling Ospreay in an awesome match, but it's still kind of sad that we never got to see these two go at it again.
Well, Joey, we have this match. We have Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Jushin Thunder Liger, December 29th, 1996, from World Championship Wrestling from the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, Starrcade 1996. What is it called now? What is this arena called now? Or what's the arena that's replaced this arena called now? It's like maybe something like the fucking Slurpee Center or something shit like that?
So Nashville's like their major arena in downtown Nashville is Bridgestone, and it's a modern arena. But this arena still, I believe, Ring of Honor still runs there. Who else? TNA probably has run there back when they first started, and maybe for a couple pay-per-views later on in their run. But yeah, it's still standing. They still have concerts and events there fairly often.
That's nice to hear.
Surprisingly,
that's nice to hear.
Yeah,
we still have
Maple
in Toronto. Maple Leaf Gardens is still around, but we call it the Manatee Center. Like whoever bought the building. I don't know about you, Joey. Just on a side tangent here, like I hate the corporate sports buildings because like if they sell it, then you have to call it something new. And some of these names are absolutely ridiculous. Like Bridgestone, like that's a tire company. Like that's okay. That sounds okay. It's called the Scotia Bank Center now, but before it was called the Air Canada Center, which I still refer to it as. Mm-hmm. We try to hang the nickname the Hangar on it. I still call the Rogers Center the Sky Dome.
Oh, I had no idea they renamed it. Yeah, that place will always be the Sky Dome.
Yeah, what was that? WrestleMania 6 and the one with Rock and Hogan, and 18 with Rock and Hogan.
Yeah.
But yeah, like some of these ones, like the fucking KFC arena, or what's the one in Louisiana, like in New Orleans? It has a horrible name.
Well, they have the Cajun Dome in Lafayette, which is actually a pretty cool name. But I forget I think that might be the KFC Center.
Okay, it was like whenever they had WrestleMania TakeOver. I think where TakeOver was last year, it was like it's a horrible corporate name, like something like the fucking, I don't know,
the Dunkin' Donuts Center or something like that.
There's a terrible Western Union. I think that's Western Union is where, in Los Angeles.
They have the Staples Center.
That sounds okay. The Staples Center sounds okay.
And yeah,
I don't know. Western Union Center. Save your money fast.
Yeah. Our arena here in St. Louis it was built in '94, and it was originally called the Kiel Center. Then they renamed it the Savas Center. Then it became the Scott Trade Center, and it is now the Enterprise Rent-A-Car Center. So it's like gradually getting worse and worse. But yeah, I still call it.
Yeah, I would too. The only arena in Japan that's like that is in Osaka, Edion Arena. Because store chain Edion bought the rights to it. Before that, it was called the Bodymaker Coliseum. But I'll always refer to it as Edion Arena. I think that's an okay sounding name. But let's get back to this match: Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Jushin Thunder Liger. Commentary is done by Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Dusty Rhodes, and the Professor Mike Tenay. And of those four, Mike Tenay is the only person who knows what he's talking about.
Yes, this commentary team, I wish so badly that we could just put them in our pocket, bring them to shows now, and just have shows be commentated by these four guys, because it was so entertaining. Even with Dusty and Heenan kind of throwing things off the rails, you had Tenay there that kind of reeled it all back in, and he was trying to be all technical for the hardcore fans, calling dragon screw leg whips, which Heenan and Dusty Rhodes have a ball just kind of bantering off of and making jokes. And man, I was chuckling to myself quite a bit when I was watching this.
The funny thing about let's talk about Dusty Rhodes. what I find interesting with Dusty Rhodes, like in his promos when he's an active wrestler, he had this penchant, right? Like if you watch any of his stuff on YouTube, you know, like he'll just pepper all his promos with baby, right? You know, let me tell you something, baby. Ric Flair, baby.
Dusty, baby.
You know, I'm a plumber's son, baby. It's like, but on commentary, he really doesn't say baby all that much. I can't recall him saying baby at least even once during this match.
Yeah, no, I don't remember it, but he did. He mentioned when Tenay gave the call for the Dragon Screw Leg Whip, you could hear murmurs of laughter from Heenan and Rhodes. And then Dusty says something along the lines of, I'm going to have to remember that for later on tonight. And then he goes, what was that called, babe? And he's like, oh, that was a Dragon Screw Leg Whip, baby. I don't think he had the baby though, but yeah, I was rolling. It was so funny.
Let's get into the match itself. So you can find this match on the WWE Network under the Starrcade 96 tab. We start this match at the 39-minute, 30-second mark, and we hear the familiar sounds of every generic Asian-themed entrance song all North American wrestling promotions used for Japanese and other Asian wrestlers, Joey. Like, we don't hear, the Jushin Liger signature theme. We hear, like, this, I don't know, like, chimes and shit that they think, oh, yeah, he's Asian. Let's use some Asian music for him. And I think, I'm gonna say, they probably had, like, 4 songs, like, on tape at this time. It's 1996, probably on tape, on CD, where they said, okay, which one's for Ultimo Dragon? I don't know. Just use disc 3. Just use disc 3. That's, yeah. Disc 4 is for, okay, cause this had a lot of Japanese talent on it, right? So we had like Ultimo, we had Akira Hokuto was on the show. We had Jushin Thunder Liger. And so like, I'm sure they were like, which is the music we used for Hokuto before? Like, who cares? They're all Asian. That's their thinking back then. Let's be honest, Joey. That's their thinking in WCW at the time, and probably the WWF as well. But we start the match. We hear this really boring music, and then on commentary, like I said, is Shivani, Tenay, Heenan, and Dusty Rhodes, and they are talking about everything except Liger. During this match, they're talking about the Piper Hogan main event. I think they're talking about the match before. It's really Tenay who really, brings it back to Liger and to this match, this upcoming match with Rey Mysterio. He's talking about like, Ultimo Dragon defeated Dean Malenko to win the Cruiserweight title and add it to his J Crown collection. Hokuto beat Medusa to win the WCW World Women's title. Whatever happened to that? I wonder if Hokuto is still the WCW World Women's Champion. She might still have that title. And then that's kind of like there's this series. They're kind of like this. They're alluding to this kind of miniseries, Japan versus the United States here. So Ray comes out next, and I don't know about you. Like I felt he had really weird kind of music didn't really suit his character. Like obviously later on he would get like hip hop themed music, but here it sounds like it should belong to like some kind of Roman gladiator wrestler, the music he's using. Yeah,
that was actually his music for until he what was his faction?
Filthy Animals.
Filthy Animals, yeah. This was his music. The bop 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 bop, that whole thing was yeah, for some reason they gave that to Ray until he lost his mask.
I felt that they used a very similar type of theme. I think it had the same rhythm as Dean Malenko's theme song in WCW.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very, very similar, I felt. So I just made a note. Ray looks so different in 1996 compared to now. He's so much like thinner, and he's more, I don't know, agile. It's not like he's not agile now, but like he's so much more mobile, I feel like, because he's just so like thick comparatively speaking, and I think he doesn't, obviously injuries have caught up with him, even with all the stem cell therapy he's done. He's still kind of like, he doesn't move like he did. To see him in 1996 again, I'm just like, wow, he's so young, he's so like fresh, and it's like you feel like he could do anything and everything that is possible to do for a human being to do as a high-flying wrestler who comes from a lucha libre background.
Yeah, I mean this match was before the dozens of knee surgeries on both of his legs. So, Yeah, and before he got on the gas and everything, and yeah, this was like right when he was breaking out. I mean, his big match, his big debut match with Dean Malenko at Great American Bash '96 was 6 months prior to this, and you could tell he was gaining steam and popularity in WCW by this time. On the other hand, the guy that we're kind of focusing on in this review was kind of met with like very subtle reaction from the crowd, even though his very unique look that we already described earlier.
Well, like in contrast to Rey, like Liger looks about the same now as he does in 1996.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the full. Yeah. Well, I think Liger in his career, he went from being like just a jacked mother, you know what, to like in the early to mid 2000s, he kind of got a dad gut, and then in recent years, he's kind of leaned back down, which has helped his mobility, I think. But yeah, at this point, he was just like jacked to the gills.
He's in better shape now than he was in like 2006 for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
So Liger comes out and already, big USA chants, Joey. Have you ever done the USA chant?
Oh, I mean, I've seen Hacksaw Jim Duggan live, so I'd imagine.
Like when like a patriotic wrestler would come wrestle in Toronto for the WWF or the WWE or WCW, people in Toronto, like it always baffled me when people in Toronto would chant USA, and I'm like, we're Canadians. What the fuck are you people doing?
I guess, would that have changed in like 97 with the whole Bret Hart feud and everything?
I don't know. I didn't go into any live shows like in 97, so
I see. I gotcha.
I wouldn't have been privy to what they were chanting. I doubt it. Probably if anyone started a USA chant at that during the Bret Hart versus the USA, feud in the WWF, like it would have been just shouted down. Like I wouldn't have done it. Even if there were American people in there, I would be like, it's not a good idea. Don't do it, Joey. Don't start the USA chant here. Okay, for your boys, for your patriotic boys, the Road Warriors and Ken Shamrock. Okay, like don't do it.
I will not.
Anyways, they shake hands at the start of the match, and really the early part of this match is them grappling and Liger really showing his superior size and power against Rey. So he's hitting with shoulder tackles. He's like, like blocking a lot of Rey's striking, and it's really telling. Like, wow, like you think of Liger as being a smallish size wrestler, but compared to Rey, he's Lance Archer. And Rey is Will Ospreay. That's kind of like the size difference between these two guys in the junior heavyweight division.
Yeah, it's pretty jarring. I noticed it a few times when Mysterio was on the mat and like Liger was kind of towering over him. It's like, man, like I've stood next to Liger recently, and I've got I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've got a good like 6 inches on him. And he was like towering over Rey, and I've never stood next to Rey, but I know he's a short guy, but I can't imagine he's that small. But yeah, there's a stark difference between these two guys at this point.
Definitely. Mike Tenay references Liger's brain tumor surgery and his return to wrestling just 2 months later. After he had the surgery, he came back 2 months later. I think in his return match was a singles against Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
Liger really overpowering and dominating Rey in the early part of this match. The referee, I should note that the referee is Mark Curtis, aka Brian Hildebrand, who passed away unfortunately early in his life.
One of the great
referees of all time, definitely. I gotta also say, I love referee outfits at this time in WCW. It's the blue shirt,
just the light blue,
and the bow ties.
It's a good look.
I kind of wish like if one major company uses the stripes, then another company should use like kind of the tennis shirts, like the ones that the All Japan referees use, and then another company should use like the blue shirts and bow ties, because I just to differentiate like your product from another.
To stand up, to stand out. Yeah.
So AEW should have like blue shirts and bow ties.
It would go in line with Wednesday Night Dynamite versus Monday Nitro. They're on TNT. I mean, why not?
I bet you Cody's pushing for that. Cody would be the type of person in the Elite that was like, we need to do this. We need to, no more striped shirts. We're going with the blue shirt, short sleeves, and a bow tie. And I can see, a lot of the probably Earl Hebner, like, okay. Oh, yeah, I like that look. Everyone else is probably like, oh, shit, we got to wear that? Damn. Anyways,
yeah. Well, one more note on Mark Curtis. He will live on forever in the footage and in WCW NWO Revenge, because they didn't have a referee like animated into the game. Actually, they didn't have like a what would they call them? What would the characters be called? But they had like little animations that would like fly on the screen whenever you'd go for a pinfall, and it was clearly of Mark Curtis. That was a little tangent, but I always thought
he's also
cool.
forever known as the guy in Smoky Mountain Wrestling who was Cowabunga, dressed as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was him, because like he came from Smoky Mountain, right? Because like he's friends with Cornette, and Cornette helped get him. I think Cornette helped get him his job in WCW as a referee, and they weren't going to take him as a wrestler, obviously because of his size, but like, we'll take you as a referee. But I think he was Cowabunga in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Anyways, Rey finally turns the tide of this match by reversing a pop-up slam into Hurricanrana. He dodges Liger's follow-up with a leapfrog and an Asai backflip and sends Liger to the floor with another Hurricanrana. Rey psychs out Liger with the move that would eventually become the 619. He's not using it. This is not until like he's in the WWE that he's using the 619. Rey tries to suplex Liger from the apron to the ring, but Liger is too big and too strong for him. Liger instead suplexes Rey straight to the floor instead, which I thought, wow, that's fucking awesome. And like, this is where really, I think the crowd really starts getting into this match, and like they pop for like these kind of really, at this time, dangerous apron spots that we would look at now and think, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's just a transition spot at this point. Liger was not holding back in this match when it comes to punishment to Rey Mysterio. I mean, he gave him after this sequence, I believe he gave him a power bomb on the floor, which was just looked and sounded brutal. Yeah,
definitely. Like you can see Rey grabbing his head. I don't think that's not selling. I think that's legit. His head probably bounced off one of those blue mats. The commentators talk about the shift in Liger's style to a more, quote unquote deliberate and methodical style. And I think, they're onto something. Definitely Tenay has been watching his, Liger matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Cause like after his brain tumor, really, Liger shifted from a more high flying style to more of a technical wrestler, where I would argue, like in 1996, like he's one of the best technical wrestlers on the planet, up there with, in my estimation, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Liger hits his tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and applies the surfboard to Rey. Rey reverses a vertical suplex attempt and hits a release German suplex, which I was surprised to see. Rey Mysterio hitting a release German suplex. He goes for a standing moonsault, a DDT, an Arabian press moonsault, a springboard dropkick, and then I'm thinking, and then he applies a camel clutch, and I feel like I'm watching a Sabu match instead of a Rey Mysterio match here.
Yeah, he's kind of like taking Sabu's entire moveset and kind of putting it right there, right in the middle of this match.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing Sabu's moveset, but he's doing it so much better because he's like a superior wrestler to Sabu. and don't at me, Sabu fans. Sabu was a daredevil, but he was a shit wrestler, especially compared to someone like Rey Mysterio Jr. All right. Anyway, I don't want to get into an argument about Sabu. Tenay references the upcoming Drake Crown title match that Liger will have on January 4th, 1997 at the Tokyo Dome against, some of these guys, they say Ultimo, but some of them say Ultimo. Ultimo.
Yeah.
Ultimo Dragon. Joey, did you research this? What is the J Crown? Like, we should talk about the J Crown.
Sure. So 6-year-old me just thought, the J Crown was just this random like title for like these 6 belts, which I guess I was right because it's basically a unification of 8 light heavyweight and junior heavyweight belts from all over the world. Liger was the person who actually thought of this, and it was a tournament that ran coinciding with the G1 Climax that year in 1996. I've got the list of opponents. You want me to go through them?
No, let's just talk about the titles. What titles comprise the J Cup, the J Crown?
Oh, sure. So we had the British Commonwealth Junior Heavyweight Championship, which is was at the time. I'm not sure if it still is, but it was defended in Michinoku Pro, and it was held by Jushin Thunder Liger. We had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title held by Great Sasuke, the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship from the NWA. Masayoshi Motegi held that at this point when these titles all were unified. CMLL's contribution was the NWA World Welterweight Championship held by Negro Casas. The UWA Junior Light Heavyweight Championship, which was held by Shinjiro Otani and defended in Michinoku Pro and UWA. Ultimo Dragon held the War International Junior Heavyweight Championship, obviously defended in War. Gran Hamada, who is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, held the WWA World Junior Light Heavyweight Championship and defended in WWA. And then El Samurai was the final champion, and he actually held the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, which WWF kind of just forgot about for years, and actually was the reason why the J Crown was disbanded about 6 or 7 months after this match took place.
Can you imagine the conversation in Titan Tower in 1996, 1997? Hey, Pat, what the hell is this J Crown? What, Vince? You see, they got the one of your dad's belts. What? Get that fucking thing back! I'm sure they called New Japan. Said, we want our championship belt back. Like I think like fucking Sayama probably won it or something and took it back to New Japan when they still had a relationship with them and just kept it. And then New Japan just kept the fucking thing there. I think Chris Benoit held that belt once. I think they were giving that belt to people who won the J Cup at some point. I think something like that. Anyways, it's a very funny situation, but they eventually dissolved it because the WWF said, we want that belt back.
Yeah, and then at the time when everything was relinquished, Shinjiro Otani was the J Crown champion, and I guess he gave WWF their belt back, and then he was just like, screw this, I'm just going to hold on to the IWGP belt, and then whatever else happened with the rest of the belts. But interesting story, but like the J Crown was pretty cool to like see like the champion actually enter the ring with all these belts. It was really cool visual.
Yeah, and then like they'd have like, young women in bikinis hold during announcements, portions of title matches. Getting back to the match, Rey goes for another springboard, but Liger catches him with a drop kick in midair, which pops the crowd. Liger hits his own release German suplex on Rey. He puts Rey in a single leg Boston Crab. And at this point, I see Bill Apter of Pro Wrestling Illustrated at ringside taking photos, which is really cool.
Yeah, I noticed him earlier in the match when right after Liger powerbombed Rey. I noticed him in the corner by the stairs. I'm like, is that Bill Apter? He still has the same hairline, and he almost looks exactly the same nowadays, just a little bit older, which is good for him.
Bill Apter is one of those people that like probably looked older than he actually was, and so when he's the actual age that he looks young. Yeah.
Pretty cool way to kind of age, I guess.
Some people might think that. I don't know. Like, I'd rather look like my age and then still look younger than I actually am. Which a lot of people will say to me now, like, when I tell them my age, they're like, "What? Really? You look much younger." And I'm like, "Thank you. It's my Korean genes." You know, the secret is this should be on a Patreon, but I'm gonna reveal the secret to good skin. All right, is drink lots of water and eat a lot of kimchi. Okay, that's
kimchi.
Kimchi is why Koreans have a lot of Koreans have good skin. I really feel this. It's like we eat kimchi. Like it's really good for you. So that's
interesting. I love kimchi. So
don't believe this SK2 bullshit. Skin cream or Korean skin product. It's kimchi. That's what all the beautiful Korean women with the beautiful skin are using to get beautiful skin is eating kimchi. So there you go. This is free. I should just start my own. I should start the patreon.com// fucking kimchi skin. That's what it should be called.
That's awesome. Interesting. Anyways. Well, now I want some bibimbap.
There you go. A bibimbap.
Bibimbap. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to teach you how to speak.
One of my favorite plates.
Your Japanese is good, but I'm gonna have to teach you how to speak Korean now. Okay. From here, Liger hits the dragon screw leg whip that you and I referenced earlier. Liger whips Rey into the corner and follows up with a rolling capo kick. At this point, now, like you were saying, Joey, everyone, including even Shivani, is making fun of Tenay for knowing the names of Liger's moves. It's like, wow, you know what you're talking about, Mike Tenay, but we don't know fucking shit, so we're just gonna make fun of you.
Yeah, somehow, like, I think Tenay handled it with a lot of grace, considering the two people he was dealing with on commentary with him that were like, I think Shivani just kind of held back in this match, but like those two, Heenan and Dusty, just were just rolling off like lines like none other. It's great. I mean, you have to go watch this match just for that.
I think like maybe Bobby Heenan, and I love Bobby Heenan as a manager, and I like him as a commentator, but I guarantee probably Bobby Heenan was reining in more of his, like, shall we say, racial jokes probably at this match. In this match.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. Like, if it was Jerry Lawler at this time, it would be nonstop, like bullshit racism coming out of his mouth if it was him in 1996. Yeah. Let's be honest here, okay? Anyways, Rey reverses another whip and does a monkey flip, sending Liger over and crashing to the mat, and follows up with a nice spin kick. The action spills back out to the floor, where Rey hits a top rope Asai moonsault to Liger. And again, this is like, now the crowd is even more invested, because like, not Liger doing all these high risk movers, it's Rey, and like people are just getting into Rey, and they're like, wow, this isn't someone we're going to be able to see every fucking week on Nitro and on pay-per-views, or if we go to live events, we're going to see this amazing like wrestler do all these moves that we're not seeing anyone else doing. Like now, everyone does the same moves, right? If you're high-flying wrestler and you're good at it, there's not much difference of like people doing different moves. You're all doing the same moves. So but then Rey was kind of like really a groundbreaker and a pioneer in a lot of these moves, Joey.
Yeah, the guys of today are basically just working off the template that Rey built for high flyers, and it just kind of evolved, but they're still at the root of it. It's all the stuff that he was doing at this point.
Both men are recovering on the floor. Rey is the first back into the ring, and he stops Mark Curtis's 10 count because he doesn't want to win that way. He wants to beat Liger in the ring.
Do you think that was a little bit of a botch in communications, considering the language barrier and like the announcers actually saved it and said Rey called him off, but I didn't actually see that. But Mark Curtis stops counting once Rey gets in the ring, and a good 5-6 seconds until Liger actually gets back in.
Because I'm taking notes for this, I have to like go back. Like I'll stop and then go back and rewatch some segment of each match I watch, and I watched that back, and I thought, yeah, I see Rey kind of waving off Mark Curtis.
Okay.
Like I think there is that idea that maybe Liger forgot that this is not a 20 count on the outside, that he has to get in by 10, and so. But like I think the commentary says it. He's like, I think it was Tenay or Shivani saying he doesn't want to win this way, you know.
Yeah, good save.
Really save. In light of like recent actions over in the UK, like this is one of those things where, a wrestler is able to think on their feet and not hurt anybody to save like a potential botch or a botch in a match, where he just like waves it off. No, don't count. Like, and then the commentary is like, oh, he doesn't want to win with a count out. He wants to beat Liger in the ring. Oh, smart. If only wrestlers today. And I'm not shitting on wrestlers today, but if only wrestlers today had a better system of learning from veterans like Rey and knowing how to do things besides like sell t-shirts to fans and like do their high spots, wrestling would be so much better, you know, Joey, I really think this.
Yeah. I just, it's all kind of, it's more about just having a brand and, selling your brand now, or is back then it was you were a wrestler. But I mean, that's not to say I don't love the scene now. I mean, I love like all the indies. I love that there's all these places to work. But yeah, it is different now.
There is something lost in 2019 with wrestling. I think like I'm not a hater of modern wrestling. I love modern wrestling. I really do. But there are things that we could incorporate back from, back in the past. And I really think there's something lost when you don't have an easier system of veterans teaching like younger guys, like in car rides and driving town to town and just imparting their knowledge about what to do. I think that's one of the big things that's lost in today's wrestling. But anyways, Rey from this point hits a top rope guillotine leg drop while Liger is getting back into the ring. He goes for a cover, but Liger gets a foot on the bottom rope. From here, Liger hits a diving headbutt for only a 2. He's now like doing all the kind of signature moves of like his various opponents, including Chris Benoit, Wild Pegasus. Rey hits a top rope springboard Frankensteiner, but this is really funny. Liger just lands on his feet. He's not doing a dramatic. He just pops down from the top.
Yeah, he hops down off the top rope. Yeah.
It's like Rey didn't really get a good grip on Liger's head for doing this maneuver, and like Liger's like, oh, I'm not going to take a big bump. He didn't actually like secure me correctly, so he just hops down. It's like if I just step down from like I don't know, the second step of a set of stairs onto the ground floor, I'd be like, that's all he did essentially here. Mm-hmm. Rey hits a top rope, and from here, like, and this is again thinking on his feet. So he like, it kind of almost looks like a botch, but Liger saves it by hopping down, and then he just follows up with a capo kick. He doesn't even delay. He just fucking hits him with the capo kick. It looks great. And then from here, why don't we finish off the match? Go ahead, Joey. What happened next?
He picks him up, hits him with a Liger bomb, gets the count. 1, 2, 3. Rey kicks out. Almost. Liger wins. He did the little like right at the last second, like, I'm gonna kick out and fight, but I almost like questioned whether or not that was the actual finish, but I mean, of course it was. But Rey was I guess he was feeling testy and he didn't want to look bad. I don't know.
I bet like someone like, I don't know, Conan was in the back. Okay, kick out of 3. Just kick out of 3, okay? Like, or maybe Scott Hall was famous for this. Maybe he said, "Yo, yeah. Rey, kick out of 3. Like, he'll pin you, but you kick out of 3, okay?"
I also wonder, like, they probably had plans on wrestling again at some point in time, and it just never happened. But that would have been a good indicator to be like, no, like, if they could have gone to a replay and be like, I kicked out at 3 or something, and they had a rematch on Nitro or something. But never happened again. This is the only singles match between these two legends.
Yeah. I do feel that Rey kicking out at 3, and there's definitely like confusion among the audience. Like, oh, is that the end of the match? It kind of makes the finish a bit flat for me.
Yeah.
But it's overall though, still a great match. Just an amazing display of like Rey's flying ability and like Liger's like kind of more, technical approach to wrestling at this point following his brain tumor surgery. And I just think just a really nice blending of the styles. It's really reminiscent of kind of the matches like Rey would have with someone like Dean Malenko, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, at this time, like you were saying earlier, I mean, Liger was one of the best technicians in the world. And so was Malenko, so it makes sense that they're just great bases for Rey to do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like Liger gets enough credit for being an amazing base for high flying wrestlers. Before that, he's the guy flying all over the place, and he can work with other high flyers. But from 96 on, like he's fighting guys like Sasuke and other people like that, and like he's the base. He's like the guy. Okay, I'm going to be the setup guy. You're going to do all these spectacular high flying moves, and I'm going to take the bump for you. I'm going to be able to help you set it up. He doesn't get enough credit. I think we talk about people like being awesome bases. Like I think, Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli is someone that in modern wrestling, and we think of he's the best base in the world. And I don't know, like too many other people that are as great as he was or Liger was, or, even like someone who was a high flyer himself, like Eddie Guerrero, I thought, great base. He was such a great base for definitely coming back, from his own lucha background. Like, it's really amazing. And I think if you're a wrestler who has traveled the world and you've trained in different styles, like not only catch wrestling, and technical wrestling, high flying wrestling, and lucha, like that you are able to work with people who work a different style, and that's the benefit of like Liger traveling all over the world, starting off in Mexico, working in Japan dojo. And that's what provide you with like these wrestlers who can work with anybody. Any final thoughts on this?
Definitely. No, I'm happy. I'm curious how many other people who you're having on the show actually picked this match, or if I was the only one. But I also find it like insane that in 1996, the year that Liger had his brain tumor removed, I was looking at his list of matches. So he had his tournament match in the J Crown in August 2nd of that year, which was only like 2 minutes because I'd imagine he didn't want to risk anything any further than he had to. He was back wrestling on August 18th, 16 days later, for Michinoku Pro in a tag match. And then his next match after that was September 23rd against Benoit, which you had mentioned earlier. And then October 12th was his full-time return. He was basically wrestling almost every day after that. And it's just crazy thinking like this guy legit had a tumor removed from his brain, from his skull. And he still had, he was only out technically for less than a month. And I don't know. That's hard for me to believe, but the guy is truly a legend.
He was able to heal. You're cutting open your skull and going into your brain. And I've had surgery, you can't do anything for a couple of weeks or a month. Okay. Right. I've never had brain surgery. So
right. I just don't understand the time frame of did he have it in between his J Crown match and the match in Michinoku Pro, which was only 16 days, or was it the time frame between that match in Michinoku Pro and his match with Benoit, which is still only 20 days? I don't know. I feel like you would need any normal human would need several weeks to just get back to normal so they could go back to their normal lives. But this dude's obviously doesn't lead a normal life. He's traveling around the world, one thing, and then he's also wrestling for a living.
He's wrestling a hard style, and it's amazing. I don't know when. I don't exactly know when. All I know is everyone references the time frame is 2 months before the match with Benoit. He was out for 2 months. He had the brain surgery. He was out for 2 months, and then he has the match with Benoit in New Japan Wrestling. He handpicked Benoit, and I'm just gonna just kind of on a side tangent because we have some time left in the episode. Is that this is probably the only time we're going to bring up Chris Benoit on this show because no one's picked a match with Chris Benoit. I'm just going to throw that out there. And I don't think anyone is. I will say that if someone said to me, I want to pick a match with Chris Benoit, I would probably allow it with the caveat that we talk about not too deeply, but what happened with Benoit and his family. I feel the Chris Benoit I always heard stories about from people who actually knew Chris Benoit personally, very nice guy and everything. I think it was the drugs. I think it was the head trauma, all the concussions he's had, and just kind of all the mental trauma he suffered with all his friends dying. This doesn't happen soon after Eddie dies. And that was kind of I think the straw that broke his mental and emotional back. Not to excuse it. Listen, Chris Benoit was a absolute horrible monster for what he did to his wife and his son. And I don't look at his matches easily. So I finished this match, Joey, and then with Rey and Liger, and then the match right after is Benoit versus Jarrett, and he's coming out with Nancy.
And he comes to the ring with
Nancy Benoit, and I'm just it just really killed me. So I just wanted to say, if people are wondering, are we going to ever talk about, the matches Liger has with Wild Pegasus or Chris Benoit? Probably not. No one, of the close to 25 people that I have slated for this show, no one has even remotely hinted at wanting to do a Benoit match. And so if people were worried about that, you don't have to worry. It's probably not going to happen. And at this point, probably would say, you know what? We've gone this far without, talking, picking a Benoit match. So I'd probably tell someone, I don't want to pick a Benoit match now. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, if we're going to do, a match with Benoit, no, probably not. If you feel uneasy about listening to an episode with that, you don't have to worry. Probably there's probably going to be no episode with that.
Yeah. Liger has has had a career full of opponents that win great matches. Like aside from Chris Benoit, I don't think that should be an issue. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is worth noting that they did have a great series of matches together. But that's all that needs to be said, really, given the circumstances. So, I mean, if you want to see them, they're readily available on the internet.
They're on the WWE Network.
Yeah.
Like they're on Japan World. Like
you can't find them. You'll have to research them on.
I don't know. I've never done a search for Chris Benoit's name on find them, but the network. But if you look, Wild Pegasus, he's like it's all over there. Like they have a different mindset in Japan about Chris Benoit. So good or bad, like it is what it is. Anyways, so Joey, at this point, like where can more people find you on if they want to hear your dissertations, thoughts about professional wrestling?
Primarily on Twitter. Just follow me if you'd like. At Joey_Bay. I try to just talk about all the stuff I like. I don't really. I'm not a negative Nancy. If I don't like something, I'm not gonna put it out. Besides Joey Janela, I had a little spat there a couple years ago, but I've learned from my mistakes, and I try to just put positivity out into the world, especially with pro wrestling. And then if you want to know me even more personally, follow me on Instagram at BowieJ.
You should be honest with the people. Jay. Like if people want to follow you on Instagram, they're not going to really get to know you. They're going to get to know your cats. Yeah.
They're going to get to know my cats. Yeah. Cats, animals, and my stories on Instagram are basically either like wrestling memes or videos of my cats, or So if you're into
like
that,
the only person on my Twitter at WHPark9 that actually, I primarily it's a wrestling Twitter. That's basically where I do all my wrestling stuff. I don't do Facebook or Instagram with about wrestling, but it's mainly Twitter. But
same.
But occasionally I'll put up a cat video. You're one of two people of the thousands of people who follow me that I'm not bragging here. I'm just stating a fact. There's over 1,000 people following me. Will actually like that cat video. I think I just put one up recently as of this recording. And you liked it.
Yeah, wasn't it the little kitten going up to the filmmakers? They were filming a documentary or something, and the kitten just goes and sits on the guy's lap, and then the whole documentary crew is filming this cameraman with the cat on his lap.
Go check it out. You can just scroll through my timeline where I'm making fun of Kenny Omega as usual, and people saying as of this recording, people saying oh, hey, AEW has diversity. They got a white guy dressed as a dinosaur. That's a sign of diversity.
Yeah, you gotta leave people on their toes, so awesome. They never know what's coming. So you got to put that wholesome content.
People think wrestling Twitter is toxic
with your wrestling stuff.
Joey, I have a carefully curated timeline where I'm here for the laughs. Really, most of the stuff just makes me laugh at the absurdity of some of the things that happen in the world of professional wrestling that gets reported on Twitter. And there's a lot of bullshit out there and a lot of anger and stuff. I can be part of that sometimes. I readily admit to that, but I just try to keep it funny for the most part. And if I don't like something, I don't try to hate on it. I just try to make fun of it. And I think there's nothing wrong with making fun of something, There you go. Anyways, so
keep it all
follow Joey on Twitter, follow myself on Twitter, and you're not going to be returning on this show because it's each show is a standalone guest. But in the near future, if I have a new idea for a show, definitely someone I will be calling on to help me out with it will be my good friend Joey Bay. Even though he's betrayed me, even though you betrayed me with not supporting my idea of all the young guys in Big Japan should just migrate over to All Japan because they would be booked better. You don't agree with that. I know you love Big Japan. I like Big Japan. You love Big Japan, so I get it. But it's not
Hey, I listened to your show with Dylan Fox giving your live review of Death Vegas, and I think you kind of saw my argument. You basically explained it on that show that this Big Japan roster is basically a big family of dudes, degenerates, whatever you want to call them, that are they're just in their own little world, and they all seem happy there. But I do agree that if a good portion of the strong division guys move to another promotion, they would definitely be pushed more and probably spotlighted more and seen by more people, because Big Japan is pretty bad about their video on demand service. BJW Core is terrible. I mean, I still subscribe, but it's not great. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, WH. I just I like my big dysfunctional family.
I just like, for me, there's only really two guys I would want to see leave that company, and that's Ryuichi Kawakami. I don't know why.
Kawakami,
had at least one reign with the strong title, and Takuya Nomura. I think he's completely wasted in that company. He's an awesome
incredible
wrestler. Like, I think in any other company, Noah or All Japan in particular, he would be, upper mid card for sure. He's just mid card guy. Like, he's not even had the tag team titles. Like, I think give him the tag team titles with like Abe, the Astronauts. I think that's an awesome tag team. But, anyways.
Yeah, me too.
We're gonna end things off on that note. We start off with Liger, and we're finished off with Takuya Nomura, Fuminori Abe's Astronauts tag team talk. But that's what you get with WH Park and talking with Joey Bay, because like we like to talk about all facets of Japanese professional wrestling, not just the topic at hand. But for Joey Bay, I want to thank all the listeners for tuning in and sticking with us for all our tangents and stuff. And I will see everybody on the next episode. Until then, goodbye.